Morgan, about 2.5 years ago, you stood in front of Lionel Ritchie, Katy, and Bryan.
Quit trying to love me.
Was that your dream come true at that point?
I looked at Katy's sheet, says top 20.
Oh my gosh.
My sheet says top 20.
Oh my gosh.
Your grandmother, as so many grandmothers are.
Yeah.
She was right on the money.
on the money.
Kids on the Hollywood!
Look, guys, I'm arm wrestling Morgan Gruber.
I'm so scared. Ready?
Go. Make it good TV. Dang,
This
girl,
is
you
as
got
much
some,
as
you
I-
got some pipes.
This is as much as I got.
Morgan, if you weren't singing today, what do you think you'd be doing?
He was raised by one, nurturing kind, the one who listens and you have a hard time.
Now, as you were playing, I couldn't help but watch your Mima, who's off camera here. Like, her eyes are welling up.
Yeah, our family are very much criers.
So did you get to meet the judges?
They're like, you don't want to be here? And I'm like, no, I'm excited to be here. And they're like, well, you can go home. There's people that want to be you. There's people that kill to be here. And I'm like,
All right, let's roll. Welcome to the Barbells and Bourbon podcast, where the conversations are raw, real, and relatable. I am your big, bald-bearded, barbell-lifting, bourbon-drinking son of a bitch, Sean. And joining me today is Morgan Gruber.
hello.
Welcome to our home, Morgan.
Hi, thanks for having me.
You came straight from the airport.
I did. I did. I'm pretty tired, but super excited.
And your Uber driver is actually off camera right now. You
Yes.
brought your Mima.
Yes, she is an Uber driver. She most likely picks me up from almost every flight. So thank you, Mima.
Yeah, thank you. Morgan, about 2.5 years ago, you stood in front of Lionel Ritchie, Katy, and Bryan.
Yeah.
And you sang a song dedicated to a grandmother. Was that your dream come true at that point?
Honestly, it's so crazy that it's been 2.5 years already. Like, it's so insane. But it really wasn't a dream that I thought I was going to be able to accomplish. And kind of when I was younger, I was taught by my parents to either go to a trade or go to college. My mom, she was in hair school. Kind of similar to your girlfriend. And she was in an accident when she was 16 years old, and it didn't affect her until I think she was in her 30s, I believe. And she was riding a bicycle and hit a pothole, and it jolted some discs in her back. And so kind of after that, her career, flipped upside down. And so I was always taught to either have some type of plan to where you can fall back on, to where she didn't have anything to fall back on because after surgery, she couldn't stand for certain periods of time. So I never thought music was an option, like ever. I was just going to go to nursing school, be a nurse, and, go to college. But no, I never thought that this was going to be something I was going to do.
So you did have like a typical profession in mind for,
Yeah.
for what you were going to do out of school.
For sure. Yep.
And decided to do something else, which
Completely
very
different.
excited to hear how you got to this point.
Yeah.
Morgan, you've been through a lot in life. You're only 20, which I asked you before the show, hey, do you want to drink bourbon with me? And you're like,
Sorry.
I'm only 20.
Next year.
I had no idea you were this young. So you did American Idol when you were 17, which I can't even imagine that. But you're sitting here today, the woman you are, based upon life experiences. What message do you want the viewer to get out of this inspiration, message of hope, message of trials and tribulations from our conversation today?
Yeah, so when I was kind of on a little mini tour, I'd say, a little bit ago, I was told this little quote that a dream is just a procrastination. And it stuck with me. And I'm a person to where when somebody says something, it just leaves. Like, I'm so bad. I forget really bad. But when I can't remember exactly who it was that said it to me, but I knew the message stuck with me. And it's so true of like, oh, I wish I could have done that, and I wish I could have did that, and I dreamed about doing this, but X, Y, and Z. And I feel like that's just the best message, and it makes so much sense of like, just do what you want to do. And if it works out, it's great.
Yeah, be a doer, not a dreamer.
Exactly.
Yeah, I guess, now that you mentioned that, saying, oh, one day I want to, it just gives you an excuse to not put the work in now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep,
That's
exactly.
a good message. Did you guys hear that? I hope so.
Dream is a procrastination.
That's good stuff. All right, Morgan, I know you grew up in the area, relatively.
Yeah.
You're a PA girl.
Yes.
Western PA girl. Mm-hmm. Tell me about your childhood.
Yeah, so my parents, they had me at 23 and 24. They're still together to this day. And we live on 12 acres. So my dad's parents, they had around 65 acres. And they had 5 children, and they split all of the acres up between 5 children. And all but one live on the property. So I grew up there. I'm an only child, so that was crazy. So grew up there. I live in between 2 cornfields, I like to tell people. But we were all like solely based on family, for sure.
Okay. So normal life?
Yeah.
Normal childhood?
Super normal life. Like, obviously, a lot of people that sing country music don't hunt and fish and ride and do all these things. And
it's all for show.
Literally, like, my comments are crazy.
As you're wearing like a hunter's themed
orange.
hat.
I almost wore the camo pants, but I was like, I think that's too much. But when people see like me shooting a deer on my story, they're like, oh, or my social media, they're like, oh, what are you talking about? Yeah, I sing country music. So, but the funny thing is whenever I was kind of getting into this, I sang mostly pop music. And it was kind of funny because cows are always in our backyard. We live next to a farm. And so I was like, why am I singing pop music when I could be singing country music? And I live country music. So, yeah. When
did you realize you had what it took to be a singer? Like, when did you realize you actually had some talent?
Yeah, so it's kind of a funky story. So when I was in school, they make you take choir to a certain grade, which most states don't do that, which I didn't know that. Just met a girl yesterday that was from a different state, and she was like, that's weird.
Choir? What's choir?
Yeah, she was like, what? She's like, that's an elective, but not for us. So I went to Riverside High School near Elwood City, and basically they just make you take choir until, I want to say, 6th grade. And it was turning that point where it was 7th grade and I was continuing to take choir because all the electives are bad anyway. So
archery
most of the kids took choir regardless. Computer and all these things that you don't, library.
Well, do you take choir just because you really don't have to do anything? Let's be honest.
A lot of people do that.
They just stand there.
Yes, they don't pay attention. So a lot of that was happening. But whenever I was younger, I had my my choir teacher a lot would like talk about my singing and all of that, and kind of made it a little bit of a big deal. I got like a few solos, but like as a kid, it's like, oh yeah, whatever. She's a good singer, no big deal. Yeah. So I'd like sing on the bus and stuff all the time. I was like a little obnoxious child. Like, we had singing competitions on the bus and like really dumb stuff like that.
And you won every single time.
I might have, but no, I don't even remember. The memory thing again. But basically, I was just going through the motions of school, and my 7th grade history teacher, Mr. Hudspeth, pulled my parents aside and was talking to them and said, you really need to get this girl into actual voice lessons, and recommended me to my vocal coach, Marianne. I can never say her name right. We can't say her last name. Anyways,
it's fine.
Marianne, based out of Cranberry. And I went to her for, I think, like 5 years. And as I was there, she kind of just told my parents that she loved having me and we had great fun for an hour, but she really couldn't help me very much. Because...
Well, you were already too good?
I mean...
Look, we're not trying to pat her on the back.
I don't want to say that, but I definitely was more advanced in terms of whenever you go into voice lessons, it's not really about like, oh, we're going to sing this song. There's so much more to it.
Technique, right?
Exactly. And a lot of people don't realize that like your voice is a muscle. So you training your muscles, you know, going to the gym and stuff is the same way you do it with your vocals, but completely different in terms of like warming up and stuff like that. And so she just taught me that to a certain extent. But after 5 years, you know, you go in there, run through your practice, and then that's it. But honestly, I feel like I was in like the tip top of my life, like prime vocally, especially singing pop music. It trained your vocals way different than country music. Country music is kind of like laid back, more storytelling. Pop music is more like dancing around, you know, like vocally better. Not
Just
better, but like
different ranges
yes,
and stuff.
for sure. But anyways, so they were talking to me about getting into voice lessons. I did that with Marianne for a little bit. And the first, I think, year that I was doing the voice lessons, I was singing and doing little competitions with my vocal coach, and also my history teacher. He had a thing called the mini stars, and Marianne didn't do it very much. He just mostly did it. So I performed there and did little things like that. And my mom like took videos of it when I was 15, and a scout from American Idol, like an agent, reached out and actually was like, hey, I want to represent your daughter to go on American Idol. And so we went through all the motions, signed all the paperwork, you know, like signed the 60-page contract, like all the crazy stuff. We got to the very end and realized I was 30 days too young for the show. So that was like very hectic. So she was like, no problem. I'll just represent you next year. It's not going to be an issue. Then the next year rolls around and we like email her, don't hear anything back. So we just organically auditioned like anybody would. And basically, since the whole COVID, they stopped doing in-person interviews for like the first few interviews. So a lot of people don't realize that there's around 5 to 6 auditions before you even get on the show.
Okay.
So, and that's whenever they would kind of film them like in a big theater. They're sitting around all day and they go up and they say if they're going to sing or not. But it mostly has everything to do with the producers. Like you're singing in front of producers, not all of the judges. And so basically I don't have any Wi-Fi at my house. I just got Wi-Fi this year, actually, that works for my house.
Welcome to 2024.
Yes, thank you. So the whole posting and stuff, I have a hard time with. So I actually went to my Mima's house and did all the interviews. Like, you know, we set up all types of stuff, you know, to make it look nice, whatever. And then did the auditions, and I got to my last audition and got eliminated. So after that, I was like, okay, well, first year I'm too young. Second year I don't make it. Okay, that's my journey. Like, it's no big deal. So I just continue with my life doing, you know, whatever. I didn't really sing full time at the time either. But then the next year rolls around and I get an email from American Idol and they're like, hey, how are you? We want to have you back on the show. And I'm like, absolutely not.
Were
like,
you
I am
kind of bitter, or you were just kind of over that phase?
Me being like 17 and first time it not working out, the second time not working out, I kind of just was like, what's the point of doing it again? And it's a lot of work in terms of they give you like a huge stack and you have to make sure that your song that you choose is on there. And, you know, I'm like practicing with my vocal coach. You have to do not only singing, but they interview you. I wasn't used to that, you know, and just, you know, all of the things where you got to fill out the paperwork again, and they ask you like all types of questions to try to figure out with your life. And so I kind of was bitter, and I was like, I really don't want to do it. And
it's crazy all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Just to get to that point where everybody sees you're in front of the judges, they think that's the first time they've actually heard this person.
Absolutely.
That's nuts.
Yeah, so, and I'm very grateful they did it on Zoom. It was like a few years after COVID, they did that, and I was like, I'm glad I don't have to fly to LA and, sit there all the time. The best part about it is I could just sit on a computer with a bunch of people, and they just put you in little rooms. I was bitter about it. I was like, I definitely don't want to do it. I'm not even going to lie. And my parents basically sat me down and we're like, this is a big opportunity. You're going to do it again. And I was like, no, I'm not. And I kept pushing back. And then my dad was like, well, I'm going to sign you up regardless. So you're doing it regardless.
Good job, Dad.
Yeah. So I'm very grateful that he did that. But yeah, so then afterwards, I went back to my vocal coach, was kind of training for everything again. And then they kind of gave me a fast pass for, the email that they sent me. So I only had to do 2 auditions instead of 5. And the 5 auditions, it's all day long. You sit there.
I'm sure it's exhausting.
Yeah. And some of the things that they ask you to do is they'll have you set your phone up and talk a little bit about yourself and then send it. Or they'll have you say, I'm Morgan Gruber, I'm 20, I'm singing this song and whatever. And so there was just a lot of stuff that, you were doing and stuff. So it was really nice. All I did was talked to a little bit of the producers and then sang a song, and it was done. So it was pretty nice.
So beyond the talent that you have to have, do you need to have a decent story? Are they looking for non-felons or people that aren't on drugs? Are there a bunch of criteria that you have to meet, or do they actually like an exciting story like that?
So,
or can you not talk about it?
I love to remind people that it is reality television. So a lot of it is scripted. I was not media trained, but I still don't think I really am media trained. But I didn't know how to sit down and have a conversation with people. And a lot of times now when I'm interviewing, a lot of people are like, oh, it's so crazy that the way that you talk about everything now, how did you not know how to talk about it a few years ago? And it's just simply when you talk about, think about talking about work. When you talk about work all the time, you're like, I could go on
really
and
good
on.
at it.
Yeah, I can talk about my profession on and on, right? So it was definitely trying to balance that because that wasn't something I was doing back then. I didn't know I wanted to do music full time still being there. But yeah, a lot of it has to do with they want to not only see your story, but they want you to progress as well. So I know a lot of friends that were top tier, and a lot of the times in the show they want to see progression. They want to help you. They don't want to give people opportunities to where they're already so amazingly successful, and it's how are they going to show progression in your story and how you're doing things? So it's definitely strategy. It's live television. It's all of the reality television stuff. So, I definitely think for sure a lot of it has to do with what your personality is and, your story.
Yeah. And don't go in the air because Morgan is going to sing and play the guitar for us later, which I'm very excited about.
Yeah.
So did you get to meet the judges?
Yeah, I did. So basically, I was on the Zoom call. I did the 2 auditions, and they were like, okay, you're going to Hollywood. Or you're going to one of the states. They were like, you can either go to Austin, Texas, you can go to Tennessee, or you can go to LA. And they were like, put in order what state you want to go to, what city you want to go to, top priority. So I was like, definitely Nashville first, Austin second, LA is last. And they were like, okay, we'll just see what we can do. And I ended up going to Austin, Texas. So the next week or 2, they flew me and my mom, because I was 17 at the time. They flew us out to Austin, Texas. And it was so hot, but it was so cool. And I was very grateful because my city was the only city where we actually, after set, we sat down, sang, hung out, and that experience was when I realized that that's what I wanted to do, was music.
Okay.
And it's so crazy because you sit in a room full of people that look nothing like you, that do nothing that you do. One's a doctor, one is a mechanic, one's a whatever. And we all have the same thing in common, which is music, which is like the craziest thing. And everybody was so supportive, and it was just the most amazing thing. But yes, I did get to meet the judges. And they were super nice too. I kind of blacked out. So afterwards I was telling my family like, oh, Lionel Ritchie didn't talk to me. And then I watched, I was like, he talked to me the whole time.
Yeah, the whole time. I watched it.
Yes, I was like, what?
The entire time.
But yeah, it was a very, 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 very cool experience. And I actually, a lot of people, when they talk to me, they say I don't look very nervous in my interview, in my audition. And so the funny story about that is so basically what happens is they rented out this huge, I don't know what the word is, but like a hotel with like a pool and like I want to say a resort really.
Yeah.
And that's where they filmed. So basically they had everybody outside in the blazing sun, very hot, very, very hot. If you see my outfit, I was dying. Black pants, black shoes. I had a black hat on. I had a tank top, which was okay. But what they don't tell you is that you wear the same clothes the whole week. So
for continuity of
yes. So like
camera.
If you look close enough, sometimes I have rings on, sometimes I forgot. Sometimes like my earrings might look different. Like it's very funny. I was washing my clothes in the sink every night. It was a disaster. So if you go on American Idol, buy a cheap pair of clothes and buy lots of them.
And a lot of deodorant.
Yes, lots. But the funny story with that is that they basically they just give you a card with like, you're gonna be day 1, you're gonna be day 2, you're the 10th spot, 11th spot, whatever. And so our day of auditions came. I can't remember. I think I auditioned on day 2, I want to say. Our day came, and they grabbed a group of us 10 and they put us in this little holding room, and you're in this room and there's a wall, and behind that wall is where they're filming and where the judges are and where you're going to be singing. So basically they take you from that holding room, put you in another little holding room yourself, and then in our case we were walking up a balcony to open the door to go in. And so I had 2 or 3 people in front of me. So the first person that went in front of me went up, got to the holding room, walked in, didn't make it, came out. So then they're like, okay, we're gonna put you in the singular holding room for you. It's like, okay. So I'm like dying, I'm shaking in my boots. I'm like, this is gonna be so scary. And so I'm standing there, and I walk out and I start walking up the banister, and I put my hand on the door, and they're like, stop, stop, stop. I'm like, what? And they're like, come back. And I'm like, okay. So I come back, and they put me in the original holding room with all the people. And I'm like, what is going on here?
Demoted.
Yeah, they're like, she's cut, actually, bye.
She walks weird.
Yes, they're like, no. And so did that. The person went in front of me, and then they put me back in the singular holding room, and I walked up again, and they had me turn around. But instead of being back in that singular holding room, they just had me turn around, stand there, wait, and then walk up again. I don't know if like one of the judges had to go to the bathroom, somebody needed to eat a snack, or if they just didn't like the way I was walking. I don't know. But so I think it was like the 3rd time I start walking again, and I put my hand on the door and I open it, and they don't stop me. And I'm like, wait a minute, like, are you going to stop? Like, what's going on? So I definitely blacked out, but I'm really grateful for that they were continuously pulling me back.
Because you were distracted?
Because I was so distracted. I was like, okay, they're just going to, after the 3rd, 4th time, like, you're definitely, okay, I'm not going to audition or something. So, and especially they had people going in front of me at least once. So I was like, surely they're going to do it again. So that's kind of why people say I look a little bit calmer.
Yeah, I mean, I thought you looked very composed, especially being a 17-year-old.
Yeah, I was
standing in front of
very cringy, but
So before your audition, you told a little story about kind of what brought you to that point, and the purpose for singing the song you sang. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah. So basically, my grandma, she had ovarian cancer for, I believe, around 5 years. And she was very big into the church. And so we did Holy Redeemer, which is like an after school kind of program. And she always like wanted me to sing at church constantly. Anybody that she talked to, she would be like, oh, have my granddaughter sing you a song. And I was like petrified. And if I sang, I would have to have people like turn their back to me, which I think is so funny. Yeah. So a lot of my family, like if they wanted me to sing, they would all turn their backs. And when I like first talked about American Idol, it was like a very, exciting. I don't really remember too much about what her input was whenever I was doing it early on. But it got to a point where she got really, really sick. And I wouldn't sing in front of anybody unless their backs were turned. And it was like the few days that, she had left, and I was like singing to her and everything. And, I just knew that, singing, she always knew like singing was going to be something that I was going to be doing. And there were sing-alongs always in our household. She sang all the time. So music was like very, very big. And like I said, we lived on 12 acres. So I'd walk to her house and we would, all hang out and stuff. And so it was kind of cool to where the last time I auditioned, it was kind of like maybe she helped me get that. I'm not sure. But when I was talking to the judges, or the producers, I did not want that to be my story at all. And I kind of ran with, I'm dyslexic. So, I was like, I'll just run with that to where like, I'll mix up my letters. I'm not good with spelling very much.
Wait, is it for real you are?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was like
no.
an act you were going to play.
No, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm dyslexic. I was like diagnosed when I was like in second grade, so it's second nature to me.
That's
it's not a
plot
big
twist.
Yeah, not a big deal. But they said a lot of people that are dyslexic actually do something with music, or like ADD, ADHD, stuff like that. So yeah, I know, kind of very opposite.
That's okay.
But yeah, so I wanted that to be my story, to where like it, even though, people are different.
I have this disability.
Some story to where it's like whatever, even though it doesn't affect me ever. I just, maybe if I text you, I'm not spelling something right. That's why. But yeah, so I definitely wanted that to be my story, and I stuck with that the whole entire time until they asked me who I was doing the show for. I told them I'm doing it for my grandma. They're like, well, who's your grandma? What's going on? Is she watching at home? Well, no, like she's passed away. And then they're like, oh, take that, grab it. So, but the scariest part about going on TV is that you don't see your edit until you're actually watching the show. So like, say you went on American Idol, you're not watching it until the whole world's watching it. And you sign lots of contracts and crazy things. So you never know how a story is going to be portrayed. Sure. And I was so thankful I'm actually glad, because obviously like it's amazing to be able to put my grandma's story like on global television and like kind of shout her out a little bit. But I was really, really scared and nervous to hear how they were going to talk about the story, but they did it good. So yeah. I was very grateful.
It was very heartfelt. And I think that, I'm not saying that helped them all say yes, but it's a good story and it's good reality TV, right? Mm-hmm. So they all say yes. You go to Hollywood. What happens next?
Yeah. So they flew me and my mom out to Hollywood, and this whole experience, I was grateful to be 17. So like if anybody's interested in doing the show, do it young. I technically was a minor, so I was technically working in California. So they have child labor laws to where like I had to take a little class, and I was in a room for 8 hours, or not 8 hours, but I could only work for 8 hours. And there was a certain amount of time that I had to be in school. So they like pulled me out. They clocked me in and out basically a lot of the times. But it saved us a lot from, working from 6 a.m. till 12 o'clock at night, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, just because like they have all these people they have to interview and,
Right.
there's not enough hours in the day. So they continue it to the night.
How long of a period is it between them saying yes to you actually start the next phase?
I want to say it's only a few weeks.
Okay.
Or a month or so.
Pretty quick.
I mean, it's been so long. But you actually record it the year before? I think the year before.
Okay.
Or a little bit before to where it comes out in the next year.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically just did that, and they flew us there, and we were staying at this huge hotel. I'm like trying to get my ducks in a row. They put us in this like 5-star hotel in LA. Crazy. I was like, this is insane. We had to go to a certain elevator that took us to our floor. I was like, this is crazy. But it was so fun. But definitely that's where I experienced all of the like what the music industry really is going to be like, and like how competitive it is for people. And I was just having fun. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't like very deep for me to like go in and win the show. I mean, obviously it's great exposure regardless. But I was just so excited to meet the people because I had such a great experience in Austin. I was like, this is going to be even better. We're going to meet even more people that want to know us and want to get to know us. And that really wasn't the case.
I want to have you elaborate on that because you did say in Austin, everyone was so supportive and you're all, have the same goal in mind. Then you get to that next stage and things get a little more cutthroat.
Yeah, for sure. So obviously it's the three states that whoever made that goes to Hollywood. And so again, I was a minor. So even though it was great for me sleeping and doing all the things, I was stuck in a room with teenagers, which sometimes can be a good thing. Sometimes, most of the time, it's not a good thing. And a lot of my friends I made in Austin were gone because they're adults. And it's kind of funny. Like my parents kind of consider me an old soul. And I don't really hang out with people my age mostly. I mostly hang out with older people. Like my mom's friends are kind of my friends, and it's not like a oh, I have to be friends with her because of this. It's
You
like
actually want to be.
yeah, they actually like me a little bit. Yeah, so that was a lot very hard to adjust to be with a bunch of younger people to where I am around a small school, and it's like, okay, if the drama happens, everybody knows everybody. So it's like, oh, she's just like that. It's not a big deal. Or you've seen that coming or whatever. So like being in a room with a bunch of teenagers, it was like very like, you're in this group. I'm like, why are
Kinda
we
cliquey.
doing this? Yeah, I'm like, why are we doing this? Like, we should just be happy for each other. And
You are an old soul.
yeah,
Let's all just get along.
I'm like, I just don't, and it's not that deep. We're on a show. It's cool. It's a cool experience. Like, soak the experience in. We don't need to be like, oh, well, who knows if she's going to make it. And it was a lot of that stuff, which I really hated.
I want to ask you one question. Not to interrupt
Yeah.
you, but what kind of rules were in place for all of the contestants? Like, were you allowed to have your phones? Did you have a curfew? Were you allowed out on the town? Like,
Yeah, so that's kind of interesting. We were allowed to have our phones. There was one audition to where there was a live audience, and they had everybody have like the little pockets that lock your phone. But mostly for all of the practicing and rehearsing, you weren't really supposed to have your phone. Everybody in the audience got their phones taken. So like if I'm auditioning and my mom is up on the balcony watching, her phone was taken. Her phone really was never, they said that, but they weren't really like strict on the rules to where she goes to the bathroom, misses getting her phones collected, and it's like whatever. But there wasn't a curfew in Austin. I had friends that partied all night, woke up the next day, and they're their voices were gone, were over singing, or like they like Ubered and left and all types of crazy stuff, especially in Austin. But whenever we were in California, it was kind of like more honed in because like they shuttle you, and we were just so busy all the time, and to where we really didn't all get together and hang out like we did in Austin. So, I mean, there wasn't a lot of crazy rules. There's, you know, like California, weed was legalized. So they're like, you can't smoke weed in California because you're not from there, whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
So like, just like stuff like that to where it's kind of basic, basic rules to where like you can stay up all night, but when, you know, it's 12 o'clock and we give your call time at 6 a.m, you have to show up. And a lot of people took it very serious to where they didn't really, there was really like unsaid roles that, you know, people just really didn't do.
Do you think some of the contestants just kind of threw their chances away because they let that fame kind of get to them a little bit?
I think that I had a few friends in Austin that were just so excited to meet everybody and sing with people to where they did tire their voices out pretty bad. I had one friend that lost their voice completely, and he was one of the people, I believe, that was in front of me, and he was like, I'm not even gonna audition. And I'm like, just go through with it. It doesn't matter if you don't have a voice. You're getting in front of these people, be honest with them. You know, I don't have a singing voice. I'm super grateful for the opportunity, but you know, I'm gonna sing you a song. You're gonna tell me no regardless, but I'm here. So it's like, you know, you do all these steps. It would be crazy to just not even, you know, see them.
So your voice is being taxed more than ever before in some cases, right?
Absolutely. I mean, there's instances where you don't get water breaks, you don't get bathroom breaks, you have to be filming, like you don't have time to eat. I know that like in Austin, the temperature was like 130 or something like that. It was so hot. And we had to sit outside because, you know, if somebody's walking by, they want to make sure that it looks filled and people are there. And, so, you know, a lot of the TV stuff, the angles. And quite frankly, like the audition that I did on my very first audition was nowhere near top tier. I didn't get to warm up. I didn't have time to drink a drink of water. If they made me sing a second song, I really don't think I could have done it. I'm so serious.
Do you think they do that on purpose to see if you have what it takes under pressure or without the comforts of what you normally do?
They definitely stress that they want to make sure we want to be there, if that makes sense. To where I don't think it's technically like a on purpose thing, but I think that it's definitely could be some form of tactic to weigh in the people that actually want to be there and the people that are just there because they don't want people to just be there just to be on TV.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There was
I'm
a
picturing
lot.
like a boot camp for vocalists. Like, I mean,
very similar.
Oh wow. Okay.
In terms of structure, I think definitely of a lot of times, like sometimes it's 12 o'clock at night, 1 o'clock in the morning, and they don't give us our time to be there. And it's at 6 o'clock in the morning. And it's just like, did you really know that we needed to be there at 1 o'clock in the morning? Or like, you know, just certain little things that it's like, are you doing this to beat us down? Are you doing this because it's just so hectic, or what's going on? But I mean, all in all, like the whole experience that I had, it's very taxing. Don't get me wrong. And they make you take like a mental health test. They do all types of steps. So it's not like they're like just continuously beating you down, right? They take precaution and steps to make sure that you are strong enough as a person to do the show.
Did it ever stop being fun?
No. I don't think
Not
so.
for you?
I mean, a lot of it, some things to where, you know, it's not fun when a lot of the producers didn't like my interviewing at all. And I think that was a big, I mean, don't get me wrong, there was amazing artists on the show. And I'm not saying that I deserved to go farther, but I definitely think a big, huge reason of me not being on the show is because I wasn't a good interviewer. Whenever like good things happen, I'm just like, that's cool. I'm not a person that jumps up and down and gets overly excited and cries and is so grateful. I am so grateful, but I'm like internally like, well, that's cool.
You're a laid back country girl.
Yeah. And so a lot of the time they really hated that. And where they're, filming and they're behind the camera and they're like, how are you feeling? And I'm like, oh, it's good. And they come behind the camera and they're like, what do you mean? You're not happy? They're like, you don't want to be here? And I'm like, no, I'm excited to be here. And they're like, well, you can go home. There's people that want to be you. There's people that kill to be here. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm happy.
I promise, I'm happy.
Thank you. But I looking back on the whole experience, like I would absolutely do it again in a heartbeat the same time. I don't necessarily know that now that I'm an adult, I would do it again. But if I was a young kid, chasing after their dreams and not having the same experiences that I've had, like, I think it's a great avenue for people. I do know that it's a huge gamble to where I've seen a lot of my friends go on and they're in interviews nonstop, doing all the things, and they don't get shown at all. And I think 4 out of my 5 auditions got shown, even if it's a snippet. Sure. I know one of my friends, Emerson, like she was doing like walking around and I'm like playing in the background or whatever. But it's crazy because they interviewed me like 2 times. And I had another friend, he couldn't even like sit down. They had him interview nonstop and then they don't show. So it's like, it's a very cool experience. It was definitely a fun experience, but if your auditions aren't getting shown, is it all really worth it? I don't know. I mean, I didn't experience that. I was super grateful enough that a lot of my auditions showed, and I even had people that went farther than me, and their auditions, one didn't show at all, or in top 24 they're like, oh, and there's this person. And people are like, where did they come from?
Because they didn't show your second one, right?
They showed,
you moved to
so
LA.
They showed every audition, I believe, but me getting eliminated.
Okay.
Yeah. So the first audition I did was the Campy Love Song, did that one. Then the next audition, I believe I did with a duet partner with Jay. So I did that. And then I did the one with the band. So I guess it was, I feel like I'm missing one. I am. The one that I sang, Anyone, Demi Lovato was the one. So yeah, so 4 auditions, 3 got shown. But they missed the most important one, is me getting eliminated. You know what I mean? They didn't show. So a lot of like my family members and a lot of people that were following on social media were like, where are you?
Yeah.
And it's actually funny. The best part about it for me was like seeing all of the videos come out like on YouTube and stuff of like, where is Morgan now? Fun facts you don't know about Morgan. And they're so funny. Like, you should watch them. They're
want to watch
actually so funny.
We'll link some below the video.
Yes, it's like my calculations from how tall Morgan is. I think she's like 5'4", and she does this and she does that. Like,
they're like renderings of what you might look like.
Them. They're so funny. They're so funny. Some of them are accurate, but some of them are not accurate. But yeah, honestly, it was like, takeaway, it was a really cool experience.
Yeah. So what doors did it open for you? Obviously, being on national TV, you're getting a lot of exposure. Mm-hmm. You got eliminated, so you didn't continue on that American Idol path.
Yeah.
But what doors did it open for you from a personal and professional level?
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think that I won't ever have an experience to be like seen globally like that ever. So that's the very first one. I mean, obviously, like, social media is a big thing too, with like following and things like that. In terms of like, a lot of people are like, oh, how many agents and people like reached out to you? And after the show, I really didn't like have very many people. I mean, obviously you get like the emails of people like, oh, your social media needs to grow, or we can help you with
the
booking or
stuff. Yeah.
Yes, stuff like that. I mean, I still get, but in terms of what it did to help me, it definitely just like boosted my confidence. Two, I mean, it helped me just figure out what I wanted to do. So, I mean, I think all in all, regardless, I had a good experience, but regardless of the experience I would have had, like, I don't think if I would have not done the show, I probably wouldn't be doing music. I mean, I just don't know how it would have unraveled, because when I was in Austin, like, that really was my turning point. It was like a switch to where I was like, I want to do this.
This is what I love.
Because the one thing is like, I seen my parents, they're 23, 24, like, having a child and doing all the things, being a family, and like, that is definitely something that I want in my life. And I always told my parents, like, music's not an option. I don't want to be a struggling artist. Like, being a musician is so expensive. People don't realize that. They think like I'm just, walking in front of a microphone and singing, and it is nowhere near that. But I just never wanted to do it. I was like, I want to be successful, and I don't want to be 30 years old still chasing a dream that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
And something just clicked in me where I was like, the dream is a procrastination. Why would I not do like what I want to do in my heart? So
what kind of negativity have you got, if any? Do you get any criticism? Do you get any haters on social media?
I mean, I love that. The hate comments are funny to me. In terms of hate, like, I don't really receive a lot of crazy stuff. I know a lot of the times, like, I'll get, if you sing a cover, they're like, oh, she's not as good as Lainey Wilson. She's not as good as Miranda Lambert, whatever. Which is valid. Okay, like, that, I'm singing a cover of
Miranda
them.
Lambert's Miranda Lambert.
Thank you. I'm Morgan.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm not going to sound like Lainey Wilson. I'm sorry. But no, I haven't really received a lot. There's a lot of people that try to give me advice a lot. I haven't had that, recently, especially now. But like, my parents are my biggest supporters, but they also are very, very, like, critical. They help me a lot, but they are very critical. So that's hard to navigate sometimes too. But not really a lot of backlash. I think the hardest thing, though, in terms of music, is it's very hard for it not to consume my whole life, to where I want it to consume my whole life. But it's like, when you leave your job, you want to come home and you don't want to talk about work, and it's very, very hard for my family to, we're having a hard time finding a happy medium to not just talk about, well, you could be doing this and you could be doing this and we should do this and let's do this and whatever. And it's all out of the place of love with all of my family, but it's very, very hard to find that line. So it's not a lot of hate. It's a lot of opinions, which I'm grateful for, and I have so much support. But it's just hard to find a happy medium, because I feel like there's just a thin line with that.
I know you've been traveling all over the place over the last, year-ish?
Yeah.
Hawaii, Washington, Vegas, Texas. Like, walk me through some of the tours and some of the stints that you've done.
Yeah, so I went to, I guess I started in Walla Walla, Washington. A gentleman named Randy, he puts on this fundraiser every year to give back to the veterans. We're actually doing it this year too. I guess 2025. So like, everybody check out that soon. But that's kind of where it all started. And we met up with this guy named Wayland Nihipali, and he is a Hawaiian country singer. And he asked us if we wanted to go on like a little mini tour, and we were like, sure. And so we went to Walla Walla, Washington. We started, and then we were in Portland, Oregon for a little bit. And then after that, I believe after that we went to Hawaii, and it's great. It's just a lot of traveling, to where sometimes we were driving hours on a bus. And, you know, we're driving into town and we're like, did anybody get a hotel yet? Oh, we have to do that. Where are we going to sleep? You know, and then he had his guard dog. So like La Quintas were our best bet because, you know, dog friendly. So like navigating like two beds for like 10 people, you know, it's like very hectic. And like, you know, we never called ahead. We just like kind of went. And we played in another part in Washington too, I think before we left to go to Hawaii. But Hawaii was like a very crazy, hectic experience. And a lot of the times that we were with Waylon in the very beginning, like his band would fly in every weekend and we stayed the whole time. So like it was very nice and chill, and like we got to see some cities and hang out. Practice music and stuff. But when we got to Hawaii, it was like very fast paced. And a lot of people, the second I say Hawaii, they're like, oh my God.
You're so lucky.
You're so lucky. It's the best experience. I am very lucky. It was a very great experience. But I didn't experience it as a tourist. I experienced it as somebody who's working. Yeah. So it's pretty cool.
So I want to talk about how we got connected. And it's kind of funny. My girlfriend works at Vibe Beauty and Brow Bar, Murraysville, PA. And you were in, and she washed your hair. And I guess she brought up the podcast.
Yeah.
So the first time I reached out to you was right before that tour to Washington and Hawaii. And you were like, oh, it's going to have to wait until at least, I think you said November.
Yeah.
And I think I reached out to you in July or June. I don't even know. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
But it's so funny how the guests on this show become guests. Sometimes I'm reaching out to them. Sometimes they're reaching out to me. Sometimes it's a friend of a friend, or someone says, you need to have this person on. But
yeah,
hair wash.
Get your hair washed. Yeah, I'm really appreciative that you've been patient, because my life has been very hectic. Like one day I'll wake up and be like, oh, I'm just living my life. The next day I'm like, oh, okay, I'm booking a flight to Vegas. I'm booking a flight to California. So it's been super crazy, but everybody's been patient. It's been really nice.
Well, I knew you were back for the holidays, and I was looking at your Instagram stories, and you have a show tomorrow.
We can get right in. Yes.
And Friday. And it's just like, holy crap. Like, you're not kidding.
Yeah, and
you're
then I have
always
a
busy.
little one Saturday too, so we're good. Then I got to, Sunday's one of the days you can hunt. So I'm doing Sunday, doing Monday, and then half day Monday, and I'm heading back to Nashville.
What's Nashville like? I know you just moved there a couple months ago, right?
Yeah, so I've been going back and forth for around 3 years. When I went the first 2 years, I kind of just went as an outlet to kind of get away from music, which I think is kind of funny because Nashville is huge for music. But a lot of my friends from American Idol and stuff moved to Nashville. And it was just such a cool experience to be able to, again, see everybody that you have no idea does music. Like your mechanic is a drummer, and all these people are like working their second jobs. The second you talk to them, they're like, oh, they obviously immediately assume you're in music. And so I kind of just went back and forth for a while. Allegiant has a cheap flight, which I'm very thankful for. And so basically just going back and forth. And then this past year, I kind of took it a little bit more seriously in terms of like recording. I have 4 songs out right now that I recorded in Nashville at Station West with my producer Austin, and I was just there yesterday. So yeah, recording yesterday, podcast today. I have a gig tomorrow, Thanksgiving, gig next day. So very hectic. All of my friends are home from college and they're asking to hang out. I'm like, Christmas.
Yeah.
Let's hang out during Christmas time. Yeah. But I love Nashville. It took me a lot getting used to being in a city because I don't live in a city.
You're a country girl, right?
Yes. But I love it. I love being around the people. And, if you're bored or want to do something, all you have to do is look on your phone and somebody is doing some type of music. You can write music there and perform and, meet millions of people. I was at the CMA Awards last week or this Wednesday or, at the CMAs, whatever day it was. And we're at Shabuzi's after party, and I'm seeing Zach Top and, Austin Snell and all these random people, Bailey Zimmerman. And you're just like, oh, hey, it's like no big deal, you know? We met Dylan Marlowe a few weeks ago. We were at the backstage of the Grand Ole Opry, and it's like just opportunities to where like you wake up and your friend's like, hey, do you want to go to the CMAs? I have an extra ticket. And you're like, yeah. And it was like a lot of the times to where I would fly back and forth for rights, and opportunities wouldn't happen because you have to be there for a certain period of time. And like opportunities are always just sprung on you, and you just have to like learn how to navigate that. And I just moved in to a house with 3 other roommates, and there's a girl there. And me and my dad drove to Nashville, and I didn't really know anything about the place. I knew the guy by meeting him one time. I didn't know what my room really looked like. I didn't know the layout of the house. And she's like, that doesn't bother you? And I'm like, doing music now, like you have to learn to just go and figure it out later. And it's a lot of like, hurry up and wait. Like you're rushing to do something. And then it's like, oh, okay, well now, whatever. And so like it's taught me a lot of life lessons to just, we'll just see what happens and just, take it literally the music industry is you take it day by day.
Thank goodness you're not a structured person.
No.
Because you would be twitching out.
I definitely liked to plan a few things. And, a lot of my friends get really mad when I'm like, oh, let me check my calendar. I have to put you in my calendar to hang out or do whatever. They get so upset. But I'm like, you don't understand. Like the time that I have to myself, I have to schedule because outside of that, the rest of my life is so hectic to where there is no structure. So it's very crazy, but it's a whirlwind.
Do you think planting yourself in Nashville as an aspiring country music star is critical?
I definitely think that networking and getting your name out there, that's the best way to do it. Performing and stuff, like I'm not going to get a quick gig in Nashville. You're not going to see my calendar saying, oh, I'm going to play here, here, and here in Nashville, And I'm grateful that here I'm able to pick up gigs to, pay for my flights and pay for my music and doing, all of the crazy things. But I don't necessarily, I'm only there for, I believe, 4 months, at least for now. That's my idea because booking here gets a little bit slow. And so I'm still kind of doing the back and forth stuff, but I don't think it's necessarily essential, but I think for connections, it's such a big city, but everybody knows everybody, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, I think a lot of the music industry, a lot of it just has to do with who you know.
So it's just like the network that you build. So
like if you can network somewhere else, that's great. Like I've networked in, different states, but Nashville is kind of like, the common ground of where everybody is.
Well, I think it's a good time for you to play a song for us.
Sound good?
It sound great. So whenever you're ready, Morgan. Do I have to turn my back?
Oh, sing it?
Do I have to turn my back?
No back turning this time. That's what I should have said on American Idol. Excuse me, judges. Can you turn around? Thank you.
That would have made for good TV.
Yeah, literally. So this song is called Raised by a Woman. It's my latest single. This is one of my favorite songs I've ever written so far. It's available on all platforms if you're interested. Cause when he says he will and he shows up on time, always make sure walking on the safer side. Don't need to be made up or make up my mind. Could be going out till sunrise, standing for a glass of wine. Love's a hard to wear on my sleeve. There's the chord. And it's the little things that make me believe He was raised by one nurturing kind, the one who listens when you have a hard time, someone who's sweet and never sour, the one you can call on any night and any hour, lovely and kind, down in my mind. He was raised by one. She tells me the stories, he's always been the same. From a little boy in the kitchen, cleaning off the dinner plates, to helping with laundry, making sure the beds are made. And she was running around like crazy, wouldn't be home till late. Now he does those little things for me. They're simple but they mean everything. He was raised by one nurturing kind, the one who listens and you have a hard time, someone who's sweet and never sour, one you can call on any night and any hour, lovely and kind, down in my mind. He was raised by one. And a couple bad ones make me cry. The mama's never taught them wrong from right. No, but he was raised by one nurturing kind. He always listens when I have a hard time, and he's always sweet and never sour. I know I can call him on any night and any hour. He's lovely and kind, down in my mind. He was raised by one. Oh, he was raised by one. Raised by a woman.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
That was amazing. So as I'm watching you sing and listening, I'm looking at your guitar.
Yeah.
Tell me the story about that guitar.
Yeah, so my favorite guitar is in Nashville. My tour guitar that I bought is with my guitar player. So I was like, well, I don't know what guitar to bring. But this guitar was for my high school graduation. And so all the people that attended it signed it. And then even some of my mom's friends that we love, we met after my graduation. We were like, you're going to sign it too. So basically I just have all of my family and friends' signatures and little notes on it. I'm not really supposed to play it right now because I got to get it lacquered. I got to get something over it.
Preserve all of this.
Yes, but it's just a pretty guitar. I love Breed Loves, so.
I love it.
But yeah, so there's all types of funny messages on there probably.
Lookout Nashville on there.
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
All types of stuff
foreshadowing.
on here.
Thank you. Very cool. All right, Morgan, you're not the first person that's played on this podcast. One of my guests, Jack Wilder, played. He's a aspiring country music singer in the area.
Cool.
And I told him you were coming today, and he was like, no way. I was like, do you know Morgan Gruber? He's like, well, not personally, but I know of her. And I said, you know, you were coming. And he said he's been wanting to do some kind of collab or track with you. So I'm going to plant that seed. Whatever happens, happens. But hopefully that actually happens. I tell you, he's going places. I know everyone says that about everybody, but he's doing a lot of gigs now, and he has a lot of talent, and music is his life.
Yeah.
He's always writing. He's posting stories at 2 a.m, tracking. Like, that's just what it takes, right?
That's super cool. You know where to find me.
So we talked a lot about singing.
Yeah.
But you obviously just played the guitar for us. When did you start playing guitar?
Yeah, so funny. I haven't played the guitar very long. I think it's been probably maybe a year and a half now, maybe 2 years. And I tried to get taught lessons, and it just did not work. Another part of the whole dyslexic thing, and I'm stubborn a little bit. So I basically, after my grandma passed away, she kind of like, after all that stuff, give, the siblings like money and whatever. And my parents took that money and completely put it into me for music. It's what bought my speakers and my guitar. And it kind of like, they always reminded me, like, your grandma bought you this, your grandparents really, but sure. Grandma forward, like bought this and bought this and bought this. And I don't really know, but I think that I was talking to somebody and I was playing with tracks, and they were like, what's even better is a girl with an instrument. She has to learn how to play something. And I took piano lessons in the beginning. And it just really wasn't my thing. A long time ago when I was really young. And we randomly went to Guitar Center one day and just bought a guitar, and it sat for almost a whole year. And tried to go to lessons, didn't work, hurt my fingers really bad. Like it just wasn't clicking.
You, yeah.
Yes. And they say it's like very disciplined. You have to make sure that you're practicing and all of that. But what they don't tell you is, like, if you don't set your guitar up properly, it's never going to work. So I know a lot of people that I've talked to that say, oh my God, how did you learn how to play the guitar? I couldn't because of whatever. And all it is it's like, it's an issue with the guitar. So when I very first did my first lesson, I went to this one guy, and he told me that the way that my strings are is too high, so it takes a lot of pressure to push down. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll tell my parents about it, whatever. So I continued to go to lessons. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing this. Then my mom had a friend that taught guitar, and I'd go over there, did lessons, and I'm like, it's just not working. I'm just not feeling it. I didn't want to practice, and it became a chore. And one thing is I never want my passion in life to be a chore. Yep. And I mean, obviously, kind of didn't really know that it's really what I guess it was after American Idol. So yes, it was. But so I haven't been playing for 2 years because that timeline does not make sense. But after American Idol, a little bit after that. So I guess I really have only been playing guitar for maybe a year and a half-ish. But anyways, my guitar sat for almost a year. My parents were on me every single day. We bought you this guitar. You need to learn how to play the guitar. It's going to help you. It's going to benefit you. Why wouldn't you want to? You'd be able to play any song. You just walk up and you don't have to worry about it. So I was like, yeah, whatever. And then one day my parents were gone, and I was laying in bed, and I just remembered him saying, your guitar, your strings on your guitar are too high up. And I was like, wait. So I literally got out of bed, drove to New Brighton Music Center, and was like, hey, here's my guitar. I think it's set up like a little bit, the strings are too high, fretboard needs changed, whatever. And they were like, okay. And I picked it up, I think 2 or 3 days later, and it was like $65. Drove home, sat down, and played the guitar, and I've never stopped.
So that's what it was. It was the setup of it.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So and I was grateful enough that the people at Guitar Center and stuff helped me pick out that guitar. It sounds so pretty. I wish I could have brought it. But a lot of people don't realize that. I didn't. And even my guitar player, he'll look at my guitar and say, oh, the neck on your guitar is like getting too tight. You need to leave the strings off for like a few weeks to XYZ. And I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever.
Let it rest.
You're like, what? You're like, okay, whatever. Yeah, let the wood breathe. No big deal. And then, he gives you back the guitar after he does it. And you're like, what the heck?
Plays better, yeah.
You're like, this is magic. Same with like, I got lighter strings. I have small hands. So a lot of the chords I have a harder time shaping than like my guitar player, Jason. He just puts one finger on the E chord. If anybody knows what that is, it takes me 2. Yeah. Same with the A chord. It takes me 3 fingers. I'm like, what are we doing? But yeah, so I guess I'm not getting the timeline right of when I started the guitar, but it
hasn't been long.
No, it has not. But yeah, and it's been really nice. And I learned how to play the ukulele a while ago. My grandparents bought me a ukulele. My Mima and Pat bought me a ukulele, and played all of that. So I sang pop music for forever, and I wrote so many songs on ukulele. And then whenever I got to my guitar, I was like, how do I write a song on a guitar? Because ukulele, like the sound is different, the pitch is different, all these things. But it was really, really important to learn for sure. And I'm still not very good at it, but we're making do.
Work in progress. Now, as you were playing, I couldn't help but watch your Mima, who's off camera here. Like, her eyes are welling up. And I'm sure she's seen you sing hundreds and hundreds of times.
I play so many gigs, and I have a plethora of songs I sing. And when I learn a new song, they get upset because they don't know it. I'm like, guys, I've sang this. The amount of gigs I've done is crazy. And I sing the same stuff, and they don't like when I put new stuff in. So if I'm singing the same stuff, it's mostly because my grandparents are there.
Yeah.
But yeah, our family are very much criers.
Well, it's also pride.
A lot of them cry.
I can't imagine the pride that, your family must have for where you're at now and the work you've put in. And
she's crying over here. I sing, every gig I sing Crazy. That's one of Mima's favorite songs. And I Got Your Picture. Every single time I sing it, she's crying. But I feel like music is it's what brings people together. And my dad always says, like, it's what makes people feel. And like, I have the greatest gift of being able to inspire someone or help someone or make someone feel better or even have their mood happier or whatever. And like, we're all very grateful for all the experiences that I've experienced, because my face is in front, like my parents, they have full-time jobs, and then on the weekends and my grandparents, they're retired, and I like to say I'm retired, but it's really not anymore, but like, we're all putting in so much work. It's not just me. It's all of my family. They're all coming out to as many gigs as they possibly can. They're taking money out of their pockets to go and have dinner and tip me and, support me. And it's just tremendous. So a lot of it is not only emotional for, the viewers, and not really me, because like I said, I don't show that, but for my family, it's very emotional because they've invested just as much as I have, honestly.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And she stopped crying.
I love it. I wish you could have had a Mima cam.
She's so emotional and then stop. Yep. One tear, we're done.
All right, Morgan, I don't know how much you've watched or how far into the episodes you've made it, but we arm wrestle on this podcast.
I have seen that, but I didn't know if that was one. Oh, boy.
No, it's everybody.
Boy.
But it's just for entertainment.
Okay. I'm weak.
Well, thanks for letting me know.
But don't snap my arm off like the wrestlers.
I know your arm is valuable.
Yes, please don't break my hand.
Mima's over here like,
yes.
Don't you
All
dare.
of my friends are like, oh, let's go skiing or let's go do this. I'm like, guys, I can't do that. I can't break my hand. I can't break my fingers.
I promise to be gentle. You can
give me a chance. Give me a little bit of a chance. I'll show you how weak I am.
So, but I'm going to ask you a question as we do this because I want you to be able to think under pressure.
Oh, no. Okay.
All right. You start when you're ready. Look,
I'm
guys,
so
I'm arm wrestling Morgan Gruber.
I'm so scared. Ready?
Go. Make it good TV. Dang,
This
girl,
is
you
as
got
much
some.
as
You
I-
got some
This
pipes.
is as much as I got.
Morgan, if you weren't singing today, what do you think you'd be doing?
I love cooking.
Don't quit on me.
I think I would go to culinary school.
Yeah.
I don't think I would. I'm not a
All right,
college.
all right. I don't want to hurt the.
I'm not
freshers.
a college girl. Like I was saying previously, like I was taught to go to a trade or go to college, but I am not book smart by any means. So I've definitely thought a lot about it more. And that's one thing not a lot of people do know about me, like we were talking about before, is I love cooking. I watch cooking shows. I can't bake. I love baking shows. I was watching Top Chef on my way here. I love it. So probably something to do with culinary, but I feel like that is something that I love that I wouldn't want to make a career. But if I had to choose,
Sure.
But I like to say I don't have any other backup plan.
So I do have one last question before we kind of close out here. At what point in your career do you think you're going to be able to say, I've made it? Or are you at that point?
I mean, a lot of people ask me where they see my career going and what I would be happy with. And I want to, one, be able to be financially successful. I mean, I live with my parents and I have a house in Nashville. So definitely that. And the thing is I'm doing what I love and there's lots of consequences to that, to where like I'm doing music. Do I want to be followed around by paparazzi and, not being able to go to the grocery store? I mean, sometimes I go to the grocery store and I'm not looking like this. I am wearing sweatpants, Crocs with no socks. I'm wearing a hat or my hair's in a bun and somebody recognizes me, wants to take a picture with me, which I'm
now,
so
guys.
grateful for. I mean, I was at Giant Eagle a few months ago and some woman didn't have her phone or anything and she ran out to the car and grabbed a receipt and had me sign a receipt. And I had no makeup on, like I looked crazy and I'm like, wow. So, but at the end of the day, like music's what I want to do. It comes with the territory. I don't necessarily want to not be able to be out of my house. I want to be able to be financially successful, to pay my bills, do what I love. And the most important part is take care of the people that supported me and helped me with the journey. That's all I want to do.
I love it. So it's not materialistic. I mean, financially successful, everybody wants that. But you don't need a Billboard #1 or a gold this or platinum that.
No.
I mean, it would be nice, I'm sure. But
Yeah.
I like that purpose.
Yeah.
That's good. Well, do you have any questions for me before we close? I want to give you the chance.
Why do you arm wrestle everybody?
Okay. That's a good question. Nobody's asked me that.
Oh,
All right. Well, there's kind of two reasons. First reason, barbells and bourbon. I wanted to incorporate some sort of fitness, strength, something into it. So I figured that could be a fun way to do it. Because it's fun, right? You had a blast, I could tell. Second is, have you ever seen Hot Ones?
yes, I love Hot Ones.
Okay. And I didn't copy it, but seeing someone answer a question while they're under stress is hilarious. So I figured, why not have someone answer a question while their arms shaking,
idea.
right? So those are the reasons.
I love that. That's awesome.
And it's kind of like an icebreaker and the
Yeah.
entertainment portion. So yeah, great question though.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming. I wish I had the new shelves up because my idea is to have every guest sign,
Oh,
The
that's
shelf.
cool. Yeah.
but these are coming down. So you'll have to come back next
Yeah.
time you're in town just to sign a shelf for me.
For sure.
With your episode number and your signature.
Yeah.
So that's what
Yeah,
we're going to do.
yeah.
It's going to look a lot like your guitar.
I love that.
I love that.
It's a good idea.
But thanks for coming, girl.
Thanks so much for having
Have
me.
fun in your future gigs.
Thank you.
And watch one of these episodes. And Mima, thanks for coming.
Thank you for driving me.
Yeah.
And thanks for being flexible with the time. I was like, I don't know when I'm going to get off my flight, but
Yeah. Least I could do. Please subscribe. It's free. You know the importance of people subscribing.
click the like.
Just click it. And I will see you on the next episode of Barbells and Bourbon. Peace. Good stuff.
Perfect.